Based on the title of this video, I'm sure you've probably already left a comment before even watching the video, but I highly suggest you watch because we're going to have a discussion. Not a Raw needs to get rid of the third hour, but we're going to logistically talk about it, why it still works for WWE, how they can ever improve it, or what they could do to change one of the hours to make it a better show. So let's dive right in. Let's not waste any time. Here's the skinny. WWE, according to financial reports, that third hour is worth approximately $25 million. Last year, WWE made approximately $25 million to $30 million in profit. If Raw was to kill that third hour, if USA was to say, all right, the third hour is gone, WWE would be operating in the red because of the WWE Network. They would be operating at a break-even point. They would not be able to invest money in new shows on the WWE Network, and it would ultimately hurt the product. But with that being said, it is true that that third hour of Monday Night Raw is so hard to watch. That third hour drags on. It makes you want to DVR the television show most of the time. It feels pointless, like you just wasted your Monday night, and it does not have that same effect that a 1 hour show like NXT, even a 2 hour show like TNA, or that 1 hour of Lucha Underground is able to capture. Hell, even SmackDown at 2 hours is a hell of a lot more tolerable. In a day and age of short-form content such as YouTube reigning supreme, videos that range from 3 to 5 minutes for comedy stuff, gaming videos that are 10 to 20 minutes, stuff like I do ranging about 10 to 15, discussion-type videos. It all depends on the time frame of what you're willing to commit and what you're willing to watch. And with WWE, we constantly see the ratings and blame that third hour, more than we do just blaming the writing and the staff of what they're doing. Now, there is no perfect fix for this because WWE is in a point where they are investing quite heavily into the network, and a lot of the shows they're producing are actually pretty good, with the documentaries such as WWE 24, with Camp WWE, with shows like even like Legends House, or things that they've produced for the network have benefited them, and that comes at a cost. Ride Along, Table for Three is great. Now, some of those stuff, obviously, a lot cheaper to produce than it was if they were to go out and, make movies like they do, where they've usually always lost money on movies. But when it comes to that third hour of television, they're never going to get rid of that third hour Monday Night Raw, at least for the time being. But that's not to say WWE couldn't do something. That third hour of Monday Night Raw now going into a brand split creates a huge problem for the company. As a fan, as Tubby Emu, the little kid that used to watch with his dad, whose dad, when he was 1 year old, would wake him up because my dad was a video game technician who went to like arcades and resorts and everything and fixed their games from the game company. He'd be working till 1 or 2 a.m. He would wake me up to watch late night reruns of WCW on TV. I remember watching some of the stuff, and even back in the days when you would tape it on a cassette tape. And I remember watching with my dad, usually WCW, because I think he watched more WCW than WWF at the time. I can't really say I remember what I was watching, but I do remember constantly getting woke up when I was 2, 3, 4, 5 years old and watching wrestling with my dad. I loved it. My dad grew up watching the AWA era, the Vern Gagnes, the Greg Gagnes, etc. in Minneapolis. He loved it. He still looks back now and breaks kayfabe and asks me questions like, what about that feud? Is that real? Or this or that? And you look at the old generation and things don't necessarily or haven't necessarily changed for them. That old generation probably still watches that third hour of Monday Night Raw, and they're probably not into social media. They're probably not into tweeting. They're probably not into Vines. They're probably not into any of that. But when it comes to that third hour of television, for younger viewers, for fans that have watched the product for a long time, it is hard to watch. For guys like my dad who still try to watch, or women, or kids, or anything, that strain of that third hour. Now, it already was when they were used to air from 8 to 10. Staying up till 10 when I was a kid was a problem. I remember my mom used to chew me out about going to bed, and really the only time that I really fell in love and I constantly watched was when the SmackDown had the fist, and SmackDown was on UPN, and you could watch it starting at 6 p.m. And I would watch it when my mom would come home from work, because she would work 9 to 6, and she'd be cooking supper, and I'd be in the living room watching SmackDown. That 2 hour of SmackDown was a hell of a lot easier to digest, just like an hour or 2 hour program is today. But again, this is about the WWE, their profit, their margins, and what they're able to do as a company. And that third hour of live television programming is worth so much money. We see ridiculous fees for sports organizations that are getting billions and billions of dollars in licensing rights. The NCAA, which preys on student athletes, whether you believe or not believe that a scholarship is a fair compensation for an organization that makes billions in TV revenue, an organization that makes billions, hundreds of millions of dollars off of merchandise sales from jerseys, etc., from players who don't see a fucking dime, who can't get money to pay rent or food or even support themselves in college while they're making them rich. You see that, and you see those licensing deals. Licensing deals are king. Live television programming is king, and that's one of the reasons SmackDown is going live. Because when you see something live, oftentimes it is must-see, not must-see per se, but there's more value to an audience. If you're watching something on DVR, if you're watching a show that's not live, you're a lot less likely to watch the ads, etc., and it's more valuable for a company, especially with integration. Now, that third hour of Raw, if WWE was never to get rid of that third hour of Raw, something I've talked about years and years ago when they first announced it, I think it was 2014, on the 1000th episode of Raw, or was it 2013? I don't remember the year. When they first had it and we went to 3 hours, like, 3 hours. Within a couple of months of the show being 3 hours, we had already talked about what if WWE dedicated one of those hours to NXT. I had to go back and find the video, and I still can't find it, where we were talking about that years and years ago. It wasn't as discussion-based as it was now, but it was more of crapping on WWE for being bad in that third hour without thinking about the profits or anything else. And I can honestly say that WWE, especially with the brand split, should consider at least doing something with one of the hours. And here's why. If you want us to believe that a brand extension is legit and you're not just doing this, to have a live television contract to eventually renegotiate your rights for a higher amount of money. If SmackDown now goes live and they get a couple 100,000 extra viewers per week, and the next time they negotiate with USA, they're able to say, instead of 150 million, we want 250 million. You know what I mean? If it's not a ploy to just raise the licensing fees or to eventually reign supreme like that, I think USA is also one of the ones that push for live programming. We've now found out that the SmackDown crew will have live events Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays during Raw pay-per-view, Raw shows, Raw live events, and then the SmackDown tapings on Tuesday. So instead of working Mondays and Tuesdays and having Wednesdays and Thursdays off and then starting working Fridays, you'll now have Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays off, and then people on the SmackDown brand will start working. But if you're competing against each other, having one show with an extra hour, especially with the division of talent, doesn't make sense. We see NXT The End, which a lot of people have speculated that it is just Finn Balor and Finn Balor and Samoa Joe, the end of their feud, which I can highly see. I do think that WWE, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, they could do something without losing that third hour of live television. They could air NXT live from Full Sail University or from wherever they are. Now, I worry about something like a Monday Night Raw, how it used to be, where they would tape NXT, the crappy reality show version, on TV. I worry about them losing the intimate setting down in Winter Park, Florida at Full Sail. I worry about them losing the ability to connect with that smaller crowd. The bigger crowds may not adjust to NXT. They may not adjust to things that worked on in NXT. If you've looked at Connor and Victor, if you've looked at Adam Rose, Bo Dallas, they don't necessarily pop on the main screen. So having a third hour be converted into NXT, where NXT could be the lead-in to Monday Night Raw, which I'm all for, I worry about how it would work. I think it would have to be live from Winter Park, Florida. You'd have to get that excitement from there. You would not want them on the road in the same crowds that are dead half of the time. You'd want it in the place that's hyped, that makes you feel ready to go. But would that cannibalize WWE's market for Monday Night Raw? If you watch a lead-in live from Winter Park, Florida and Full Sail University and NXT and you hear that crowd, and then you watch Monday Night Raw, would you stop watching Monday Night Raw and only tune into NXT? We talk about how SmackDown and Raw Dave Meltzer, somebody asked the question to Dave Meltzer, SmackDown beats Raw in ratings. Would they cannibalize SmackDown and make it bad just so Raw would look better? And I said no. That would be stupid. Why would WWE do that? If NXT, though, started getting better ratings than WWE, I think that's where they were in trouble. And that's where I think, as much as I want that third hour of Raw or the first hour of Raw to be NXT, I don't logistically see it happening unless, like I said, it's live from Full Sail, or even if it's taped, they could put their tape show on TV because it's something the mass audience should be watching. NXT is great, and WWE programming could be great. We'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. With the brand split, how would you guys like to see it break down? Now, knowing the discussions that we've had and knowing that WWE would operate in the red or would not be profitable at all and maybe not be able to, take this risk of the WWE Network not making money or being, low in subscribers, would you like to see WWE possibly risk that third hour, go back to 2 hours, and you probably offset? If the television program was better and you had a million extra people watching, could you negotiate higher for that 2 hours? We don't know. That's theoretical at this point, but I want to know your guys' thoughts. If they kept it 3 hours in SmackDown 2, does that bias your opinion on the brand split? Does one look better than the other? Or if they had a third hour, what do you think they could do to improve it in the comment section below? Until next time, my name is Tubby. Guys, thank you very much for watching and listening to the video. And until next time, we will see you all later.